Aloha and welcome to the United Kingdom, aka the 51st state. Pound sterling? Pop those away. We only accept dollars here. The Queen? Who dis? Everyone knows we have a Prez, not that he's been here for a while, but you know, it is quite a long flight. Weird, right? Yep. But what if this insane alternate universe was, you know, our universe? What if the British Isles and the United States were merged? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today I'm asking, what if the UK joined the USA? As you watch this video, I want you guys to tell me what you think to the UK joining America as a 51st state. Now I imagine the comments section will be potent. Large parts of the United States of America used to be English territories. Officially known as British America and the British West Indies, the land was ruled from 1607 to 1783 by the British monarchy. To simplify what happened next, we of course know that the United States declared independence and eventually the British Empire receded the land. Further simplification again, but as we know, the British Empire began losing her colonies one by one in a kind of poetic reverse colonist adventure. This left her as a simple collection of tiny islands in the middle of the ocean. England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. They banded together amid the sea. It seems the glory years of British power were over. Some 230 years later, Britain ostracized herself from the European Union, arguably further diminishing her status as a global power. Left alone in the ocean with uncertain allies, could Britain feasibly join the States? Britain has always retained a quote-unquote special relationship with the States. Indeed, the breakup wasn't one of the worst. Over the course of the next few hundred years, both the US and the UK have generally backed one another in matters of politics and war. Beyond that, people in the UK care a lot about American politics. Even I, a Brit, have had my fair share of ignorant "if it isn't your country, why do you care" comments. But what some United States citizens don't realize is that American politics also affects the rest of the world, especially those closely associated with the States, like the UK. US law, while not always directly comparable in the UK, sets a precedent for behaviour throughout the rest of the world. With so many people in the UK feeling a close connection to the States, and with our shared common ancestry, would a merger be such a crazy idea? If the UK did join the USA, there would be some kind of pretty backwards progression irony that I'm sure would be much discussed on both sides of the Atlantic. But snickering aside, how exactly would the UK even be run? Would this mean an end to the British monarchy? Surely it must, as the idea of a non-elected king or queen is pretty at odds with the Declaration of Independence. That being said, the Queen doesn't really have an active role in UK politics as it is, and many Americans find her kind of fascinating. Each state has its own identity, so perhaps the state of Britain will just have a few quirks of its own. If Britain was to become a state, I say Britain as we can't very well call it the United Kingdom anymore, it would be the most densely populated state in America. In fact, if the British Isles were annexed, they would contain 16% of the new American population, so that's more than the entire population of the Midwest. This would mean that Britain would have a congressional delegation of 2 senators and 75 representatives. Consensus is that the British are more democratically minded, so no doubt the Republicans would be pretty cut up about this. Perhaps this means that the next president would be a Democrat. Speaking of presidents, if the UK was to become the 51st state, would this mean that UK citizens would now be eligible to run for Prez? Interesting. Politically, things would be very complicated to say the least. In terms of world politics, the two countries being allies actually gives them more power. In the UN, both the UK and the USA have a seat, so if they were to merge, there would be a loss of influence. Culturally, each state in the United States has its own identity, but is British identity too far removed from the American ethos? For example, after the 2 world wars, nationalism makes us Brits feel quite uneasy. We don't like ad breaks in our sports, and what on earth are we gonna decide is football actually? Also, that's not to mention the language barrier. Americans are speaking English, but they've adapted it for their own use into American English. I think Brits would struggle with pants, jello and elevators. Also, diapers? Christ, this is a totally different world. Would we have English, American English? Where do we draw the line? This is nonsense. Did somebody say Christ? This is where things would get exceptionally murky. The UK is a Christian country with a prominent Church of England, but religion is very, very far removed from politics. The United States is supposed to be a country of religious freedom, but regularly introduces religion into politics and lawmaking. Very confusing, and I don't see it meshing well. Economically, how would this even work anyway? The UK are pretty proud of their pound, but they'd have to relinquish it if fused with the States. dollars it is then. The dollar, of course, would rise in value as it absorbs the economy of the UK, one of the most profitable in the world. Further questions would be, what would happen to the UK's National Health Service? Would the UK have to revert back to the imperial system? And would we have to drive on the right side of the road? To be honest, that I would actually be down for. Do I even want to mention the G word? Do you know what? I really don't. Suffice to say, we have our differences, and I think that we each like it that way. The UK is 4,242 miles away from the centre of the States, which really isn't too much further than the 3,758 miles distance between the centre and Hawaii, or the 3,619 miles away to Alaska. However, if the UK did become a state, its geographical location would raise a number of political eyebrows, or worse. You see, if the USA owned UK soil, it would have land in Europe, a whole new continent, a continent with its own power struggles. What the EU would make of the move would be very interesting, but what Russia would think could be devastating. Russia and Chinese powers would likely not support the increase in American size in terms of land, population and power. There could be very tense times ahead. Ultimately, it seems very unlikely that the UK and USA would merge. While we share some similarities, culturally and ethically, I think we're a little too far removed from one another. Best we just stay mates that live in our own homes, but visit from time to time and support each other when things get rough. What do you guys think though? What do you think would happen if the USA and the UK merged? Let me know in the comments section down below. Also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this video and stay subscribed for more big answers. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. I'll catch you in the next video, but for now, stay curious, stay alert, and never ever stop questioning.